Hello everyone, Joel Tadman here from Golf Monthly, and you join me in my back garden because we are currently in full lockdown. But in this video I'm going to talk you through the various different ways you can get your golf equipment ready for when lockdown finally lifts. We're hearing that golf, fingers crossed, might be one of the sports that's reopened a bit earlier than other sports, so now is the time to really look at all the different pieces of equipment that you rely on during a round of golf. So before we get started, just need to remind you to subscribe to the Golf Monthly YouTube channel. That way you won't miss any of our videos. Do click the like button if you like what you're watching, and comment on the video as well. I'd love to know from you, what are you most looking forward to about your first round of golf after lockdown lifts? I'd love to hear from you. But now let's get started looking at the various different ways you can get your golf equipment ready for when lockdown lifts. Right, so the first item on our list, unsurprisingly, is to clean your golf clubs. You'd actually be surprised at how many golfers don't clean their golf clubs, and if you've got mud or other things gathered in the grooves of your clubs, or maybe even mud on the face of the clubs themselves, that can affect the start direction of your shots, the carry distance, and also the spin you generate, which will have a detrimental effect on the result. So if you think you've hit a perfect golf shot and it comes up short because you haven't cleaned your clubs properly, it's going to be an incredibly frustrating feeling. So now's the time to give them a thorough clean. I recommend using a wire brush, if you've got one, to get the dirt out of the grooves themselves first, and then give it a thorough wipe with a cloth and warm soapy water. But also make sure that you give them a thorough dry as well. That will eliminate the possibility of any rust gathering after you've cleaned them. So sounds obvious, but clean your clubs, and therefore you can't blame them if you hit a bad shot. And the next item on our list relates to maintaining your electric trolley. Now, this is my Motor Caddy S1 that I've used for a number of seasons now, especially all through the winter. And as you can see, it's not in the best state in terms of cleanliness, but now is the time to really give it a thorough clean. And what's great about the Motor Caddy models in particular is that you can easily remove the wheels, so you can see you get all the mud out there, they easily come off. You can put them back, then you can clean around the axle areas, and also the front wheel is really important because if you get mud stuck in there, it can affect the tracking of the trolley in terms of going in a straight line. It might veer left or right. What's great about the Motor Caddy model is that you can unclip the front wheel here, and you can adjust it to make sure it tracks in a straight line, then you can just clip it back. So that's really easy to do. And the other thing in terms of looking after your electric trolley while you're not playing for a long time is your lithium battery. So Motor Caddies say that ideally your lithium battery would be stored in a half charged state. So if you have just played a round of golf and you've not charged it since, maybe because lockdown came into effect, the best thing to do is charge it for about an hour and a half. That should leave it in a half charged state, and that's the most optimum amount to maintain the lifespan of that battery. Failing that, a full charge battery is the next best thing. I'm sure most of you would have done that after your round. It's almost second nature. So if you do that, hopefully you'll extend the longevity of your electric trolley and you'll be ready to go once the lockdown lifts. Now, one really important but easy thing you can do during lockdown is clean the grips of your clubs. You'll notice that grips have tiny little channels that give you the grip that you need when playing golf, but these channels do also gather sweat and dirt and other things over time that will reduce the amount of grip you get from these grips. So the thing to do is get a cloth, some warm soapy water, give them a really thorough scrub all the way around, and that will remove all the dirt and debris and other things that have gathered in those tiny channels. But also it will reinvigorate the rubber, so the rubber will regain that soft, tacky feeling that you experienced when they were brand new. We all love that feeling you get when you hold a brand new club with a brand new grip. You feel like you've got really nice control of the club. So really, don't give up on your grips just yet. They might not feel great at the moment, but if you give them a clean, they might just feel brand new again. And I'm pretty confident that over the last few weeks and months when you were playing golf, your golf bag has accumulated lots of items that maybe you need to think about getting rid of because you don't actually use them. If you're carrying a golf bag, excessive items can weigh you down even more, produce extra strain and stress on your shoulders, which can affect performance. And if you're using a trolley, Extra items on one side of the bag can cause it to veer to the side, and it will drain your battery even more. So it's really important that now you get rid of all the unnecessary items that have built up over time. So maybe you put a driver wrench in there last year and you've never actually used it. All those golf balls that you found in the rough and stuffed in your bag, now's a good time to get rid of those. And maybe you've had that emergency jumper stuffed in the bottom of your bag for years. Actually, you've never used it, so maybe it's time to get rid of that and really focus on the bits of equipment that you only really need on the golf course, which should help you play even better. The one thing you can do during lockdown is to categorise your golf gloves. It might seem a bit drastic, but actually, if you do this, it will maximise the lifespan of your golf gloves and give you the best feel and performance for when you really need it. So for example, I will always use a cheaper synthetic FootJoy glove for the winter, just because I'm not too fussed about getting the best feel during the winter because it's so cold anyway, you don't really notice it. I haven't got one here to show you, but then I will also categorise my gloves into various different levels of wear and then use them differently. So when I'm practicing, I would always use one of the more worn gloves, just so I don't really waste a brand new glove. And then maybe when I'm warming up before a round, I'll switch into a slightly less worn glove, but not a brand new glove. And then when I'm actually teeing off in a competition or a match, I will use a brand new FootJoy glove, just because that gives me the best feel, the best grip, the best performance. And then afterwards, what you can do is go a step further. I know our esteemed editor Mike Harris does this and put the different levels of wear of glove into different plastic sandwich bags. So that just separates them out so they're easy to find. It also makes sure they stay dry. Maybe if you haven't got a waterproof bag, that's a really good option. Maybe it's a bit drastic, but it's just something you can do to maximise the lifespan of your golf glove and get the best performance when you really need it. Right, okay, so the next item on our list may sound a bit obvious, but it is to clean your golf shoes. The only way you're going to keep your golf shoes looking pristine for as long as possible is to look after them, and that's by cleaning them really thoroughly. So whether that's the cleats, if you've got a cleated pair, you can maybe even think about taking the cleats out and giving them a thorough clean, getting all the dirt out of the various different tiny holes and then putting them back in. If you've got a leather pair of shoes, think about using a special leather cream that really nourishes that leather and keeps it soft and supple for as long as possible. If you want to go that next level, think about taking the laces out of your golf shoes, soaking them in hot soapy water, running them through your fingers to get all those tiny little specks of dirt out. If you do that, your shoes will look pristine for an awful lot longer. But if you go down that lace route, the only thing you've got to remember is how to thread them back in again. So while you've got your clubs and your trolley ready, now might also be a good time to stock up on other essential items you've maybe not thought about in the past and have been left wanting. There's nothing worse than reaching into your golf bag for something you really need and it not being there. So now is the time to think about what you would actually need out on the golf course besides from the usual balls, tees, clubs, etc. There's an awful lot of items you could think about. For example, a spare battery for your laser rangefinder. That's going to really come in handy if it runs out of battery halfway through a round. Maybe some plasters if you get a blister during a round from a new pair of golf shoes. Maybe you think about having some sun cream in your golf bag, allergy tablets, whatever it might be. These are all little things that can make a big difference out on the course. Now when lockdown does eventually lift, there is going to be a mad rush for tee time, so your playing partners aren't going to appreciate it if you are faffing about on the first tee, marking up your golf ball with your favourite design. So now is the time, spend a few minutes with your chosen golf ball. For me it's the Titleist Pro V1X. Maybe mark up a dozen or so with your favourite design. For me it's just a simple ring around the number. Like I said, go for a dozen or so and hopefully that means you'll be ready to go when your tee time arrives after lockdown lifts. Now the last but by no means least way you can prep for your first round of golf after lockdown is really to nail the strategy that you need to employ on your home course. Maybe the reason you haven't shot a decent score in a monthly medal for years is because actually your strategy has been all wrong. You've been hitting the wrong clubs off tees, you've been missing greens on the wrong side. So now is the time to really think about what clubs would get you in the least amount of trouble, really keep double bogey off the card. That's the most important thing when creating a strategy for a golf course, especially if you're a handicapped golfer. Think about where the safe side of the greens to miss from. What's the best place to putt from on certain greens to give you an uphill putt that's really going to reduce the risk of 3 putts. These are all things that maybe you haven't thought about for a while because it's your home course and you play it all the time, but actually when you think about it a bit more, you might realise certain situations where you've been going wrong quite a lot of the time, and now is the time to really rectify that and really create a strategy that's foolproof and really going to help you knock shots off your round and score better for when lockdown lifts. Okay, so that concludes our look at the various different ways you can get your golf kit ready for when lockdown lifts. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful and maybe took away at least a couple of nuggets of insight there to help you really look after your golfing equipment and enjoy your first round of golf when lockdown lifts even more. But for now, it's goodbye from me. I'll see you next time.